Hi everyone, welcome to the last session, Public Speaking of Nyaya Shiksha Trust. Today is the 30th June and we've been running this camp for 20 days approximately. And in today's session, I am personally very excited to talk about a topic in public speaking that is super important, but it's something that we do not always learn because we think it is not that related. Let me share my screen right away. Okay, so today's topic is the psychology of influence, why some speakers are heard and others are not. Now, here's a very brief explanation of this topic. When I did research, when I've continuously understood why there are so many differences in the way people listen and remember certain speakers, I realized that it is a lot to do with how they influence other people, whether that's vocally or through non vocal techniques. I've understood that the way you influence other people, whether it's your body language, what you say, how you say things, makes a very big difference. And that is the reason why some of the best speakers we know today are often so memorable. So, today, that's exactly what we're discussing. We're going to go through some slides and understand how we, as common people, can use certain techniques to ensure that we are heard when we speak and that people remember us. So let's get right into it. The first one, people decide how much to listen before you start speaking. I want you to read this out again. People decide how much to listen before you start speaking. So often we think that, okay, as soon as I come on stage, when I start talking, okay, after 5 to 10 seconds, then they'll start judging or then they'll start listening to me. Yes, to an extent, that's true. But this one is about first impressions. Okay. Because first impression is not just our voice, it's not just vocal. When I was doing research, I found out a very surprising statistic that only 7% of our overall first impression is because of our vocal, our voice. 55% of it is often body language. And around 38% of it is other things like our tone. But imagine only 7% of that whole impression is the words that we say. So that statistic should be great reference for you to understand that your posture, your eye contact, the way you walk, the way you pause, all these different aspects are equally and often more important than the words you say when you're speaking. So I'll give you an example. Imagine two speakers, okay? Speaker A, speaker B. Now, speaker A, they rush in, say we're in a stage where all the audience members. Speaker A rushes right in and they're fidgeting a bit, fidgeting with their hands, looking around, they seem a bit nervous. And immediately they start talking. They don't pause, they don't look around, they don't smile, nothing. They come, fidget a bit, they look a bit nervous, and they just start blabbering and talking. That's speaker A. On the other hand, we have speaker B. Speaker B, instead of doing what speaker A does, this person walks calmly, slow, composed, straight, tall, pauses before they speak, smiles, looks at everyone, and then starts. Now think, before either of them has even spoken a single sentence, before they've said the content of what they want to speak about, all of us as an audience, we already have a first impression. Me at least, I have already judged that, okay, speaker B seems like a very much more a confident person who I would want to listen to because of the way they came and they looked like they owned the place, the way they were so composed, calm, and comfortable. And they paused, they smiled, they were not fidgety. But speaker A looked like they were rushed up and they did not know what they were doing. And now I'm going to think maybe I don't want to listen to speaker A as much. So that is very important to understand that it's not just the words we say, but also how we appear, how we present ourselves on stage and in front of people that makes a big difference. So the best takeaway for this slide is that influence begins before your first word. And that means that now you've got to start thinking, okay, before you walk on stage, how's your posture like? Is it straight? Is it tall? Is it nice? Okay. Number two is your eye contact. Ensure to look at everyone. Don't look down and walk up, or don't do that. Look up, smile, smile at every single person you can, and take your time. Because another thing that I've realized that relates very much to this point is that we are scared of silence. That 2, 3 seconds right there, that silence, we are often scared of it because we think it shows awkwardness. We think it shows that we're not prepared. But actually, silence is often something that it can be louder than the words you speak. In speeches, when you're talking to someone, it's that silence that allows the other person to process what you say. It is that silence that after you ask a question, they know they have to answer. They know they're being put on the spotlight. That silence is very, very important. And so when you come up to speak in front of people, pause a bit, let some silence sink in so that it is clear that you have appeared and you are about to speak. You're asking for people's attention without actually saying anything. So remember that. Pause, walk with a good posture, smile at everyone. At least instead of looking down, at least look up. You don't need to look at everyone's eyes if you're not so confident. That's completely fine. But try to present yourself well because, along with our vocal impression and what we say, there's a visual impression as well. Not our face, not our clothes, but how we present ourselves. Moving on. Confidence is often contagious. Okay, this is something that I found a bit confusing, but now that I've understood it, here's what I'd like to say. We as humans, we often use other people as clues or hints. Okay. If you as a speaker, now I'm speaking to you all. If I seem calm, if I seem confident, you will relax, you will relate to me, and you'll understand that, okay, he has something to share. Let us listen to him. But if I sound unsure, if I look nervous, if I look like I don't know what I'm about to say, you as an audience are also going to get unsure. You're going to be like, does he know why he is here for? Does he know what he's about to say? Is this person even credible that he's speaking? So that same way, let us think, okay, let me give you an example. Okay, imagine you're on an airplane. Yeah, or an airplane, you're going to any country of your choice. Just imagine that. Put yourself in the seat in one of the any part of the airplane. And if there's a turbulence, okay, say you're in the middle of the flight in the nighttime, there's a big heavy turbulence. And you look at the flight attendants around you because obviously during a turbulence, yes, we see flight attendants are walking, telling us, okay, wear your seatbelt, do this, do that. These are the precautions. And imagine that as soon as you look at the flight attendant, he or she looks terrified. Imagine that you just got to know, okay, there is a turbulence happening. The pilot announces it. And you look at one of the flight attendants on the aisle and they look terrified, like they do not know what's going to happen. They are panicking, they're fidgeting. Think about how you're going to feel. Are you going to feel calm? Are you going to feel composed? Like, oh, okay, flight attendant is terrified. That's okay. That's fine. We'll be safe. No, not really. Everyone in the plane would panic if they saw the flight attendants and pilot, no, because they're obviously not seen to us. But if they saw the flight attendants and staff panicking and being terrified, you'd also be scared, right? You'd be fearful. You will not feel comfortable. This same situation, apply it to when you speak. An important thing is you do not need to be very loud. You do not need to seem like how the confident people you see are. No, all you need is being calm, being composed, because when you project that calmness, it's automatically shared. The message is shared to your audience that this person knows what he or she is about to say, and they feel relaxed and they are excited to listen to what you have to share. Remember this example of a flight attendant in the airplane and the turbulence. And I'm sure every time you speak in front of someone or on a stage, you will be able to project the required calmness. Moving on to the next one. This is an interesting one. People remember more of emotions than information. So most of us, whether we're students or wherever we are working, this, that, we think that a great speech An ideal speech that is presented by this amazing speaker in front of a huge audience is full of information, like packed with information, a lot of statistics, a lot of data, a lot of credible facts. Actually, the greatest, most memorable speeches, if you type them up online, if you watch some, it's not only TEDx, it's not just TED Talks, it's all the presidential campaigning speeches. I've recently watched one of Obama and John F. Kennedy, all these people who've delivered such excellent speeches. Watch them. It's going to take very less of your time. Just watch a 5 or 8 minute campaign speech, and you will notice something, that their speeches is not just full of facts and this happened and that happened and historic events. No, their speeches evoke a sense of emotion and a particular feeling in the audience. Whether that, in the history, it would be a nationalistic feeling, or it could just be anything as simple as feeling motivated, feeling inspired. If I am a motivational speaker coming to talk to you, in my speech, my goal is to ensure that you feel encouraged to become a better speaker, develop your skills. And so that's a very important thing to keep in mind, that we remember these emotions, we remember how people make us feel, not just what they say. I'm going to do something interactive. Think about one of your favorite memories, okay? It could be with your friends, with your family, anything like that. Look back at it and try to observe that memory. Now think, do you remember what was said in that moment? What were the words that you said? What were the words that the other person said? Or do you majorly remember how that memory made you feel? Maybe it made you feel happy. Maybe it made you feel excited. It felt very, maybe it could be something nostalgic as well. But the important thing that I'm trying to highlight here is that in all these memories that we have, things that are very close to us, we remember how we feel. So same thing, apply it to your speeches, because think about the teachers that you remember in school, think about a movie you remember, a speech that you remember. It's often because how they made you feel. So the same thing in your speeches, what I'm saying is discuss stories. Storytelling is very, very important. Anything that you've experienced that you think could be of value to the other person, that could share some knowledge, share that. Be humorous. You do not need to script a joke. If you think it's natural on the spot, do it. I think observational and jokes that relate to that situation at that moment do really, really well, because that show that you're a very spontaneous person. So use humor. Feel free to do that, because I personally feel that if I'm talking to someone, whether on a stage or in front of people, I hold back a bit. You may be feeling this too. If you think of a joke, or if you think of something that could connect with other people, we often hold back and we think that, oh, you know what, it's okay. These people, they might judge me, they might not laugh, they might not react the way I want them to, and that's fine. I understand that, but please just push 20% up, 10% up, gradually do that. And by that, I mean any thoughts that you have, anything you want to share, share it. Just go one step further instead of keeping it inside you. And for sure, once you share it with a passion, with a smile on your face, with an emotion that you think can connect, people will remember you. Because facts, okay, facts, statistics, data, they inform people. Yes, they spread awareness, true. But emotions and feelings influence people to make you more memorable, for them to like you more. So that's the key takeaway, that facts inform, but emotions influence and make you stand out. Now, this seems a bit dangerous. It's a bit foreboding, the curse of knowledge. But for me, this is one of my favorite concepts, because once you know a particular topic, once you know a concept, it could be anything. It could be a skill like graphic design, content writing, content creation. It could be a subject, it could be engineering, it could be chemistry, anything like that. What I'm trying to say is that once you know a particular topic or concept, it's difficult to imagine not knowing it. I'm going to say that again. Once you know a particular concept or topic, it is difficult to imagine how you would be without knowing it, because you've already learned it, you've already understood it. Now, you cannot just unlearn it naturally. And the way that this links to public speaking is because often when we're trying to explain something to someone, talk to someone about something, share an information, we tend to skip explaining how or what makes us think that way or how to teach it. Because this is what I'm trying to say. You have the knowledge, you know it, but sometimes it's difficult to explain it to someone else because you've already learned it, right? What's the point of knowing the explanation and knowing how to teach it to someone else? So that is often a bit disadvantageous because we skip explaining how we get there and the other person is left confused. We might use very technical jargon or very specific language that the other person may not know. Why? Because they've not learnt it. You have learnt it, yes, but put yourself in the other person's shoes. Sometimes we may just speak very quickly, like talk, 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 and the other person cannot understand because you're just speaking, and that's what happens. I just rush through my words, and okay, I might be knowing what I'm saying, but you don't, and you've got to understand that. So if we go back to like a school situation, an academic situation, take economics, yeah? In that subject, if you're in class and your teacher says, obviously this answer that we have on the board, this is due to opportunity cost. And now students will think like if we all are students in one class, we're gonna think that's not obvious. It's not obvious that this whatever he or her is teaching is because of opportunity cost. That term, that technical language, that jargon, the teacher knows it, yes, because they've done a degree, they've learned about it, they've been educated, but we don't. And so that's why this knowledge can be a bit of a curse. So to avoid this, something to remember is that great speakers, they remember what it is like to be a beginner. So now, for example, when I'm talking to you and I'm trying to teach public speaking, I'm trying to teach communication, my goal is to try to connect with you, all of you as an audience, and try to think, okay, where you might be at. Because if me or any other person who teaches you public speaking, communication, if we are, say, at this level, and some of the audience is here, some is here, some is here, we cannot continue speaking at our level and we cannot just talk and act like all the keywords we use you're going to understand. Because that way, you're going to be confused. You're not going to enjoy. And hence, the takeaway for this slide is speak to the level that is of the audience, not your own level. How you can know that is first, obviously, understanding the audience, whether it's their age, their interests, their past in whenever they've attended similar sessions. And once you know your audience well enough, you'll be able to craft a speech or craft a story that can relate to them and that can match their current level of knowledge. Okay. Yes. So this relates to this slide as well. People remember emotion more than information. A follow-up to that point is that people like speakers who make them feel important. Now, here's what I think. Many speakers, they often focus on, look at me. Look at me. I'm such an excellent speaker. I can modulate my voice so excellently. I've done this talk, I've done that. And they want the spotlight on them, which is fine. That is a personality type. We understand that. But if you go up online, watch some videos about the most influential speakers, again, I'm going to mention Obama, all these presidential campaigns, because what they do commonly is that they put the focus outwards to the audience. They focus on you. It's not like, okay, they might have the most exceptional skills. They might be very talented. They might speak very well. But despite all of that, they do not always ask for the spotlight, do not always say, commend themselves, and they put the focus on you. And this is exactly how you do that. Number one, very simple, direct address. Yeah. Words like you, we, us, these things make us feel connected as an audience. Because imagine if I'm coming up here and talking about public speaking, and I'm like, you are very fearful of public speaking, and you have got to overcome it. You. If I just use it in that way, and if I do not do an us or a we or make it more inclusive, you might not feel so. You might feel very targeted. We'll not feel like we're growing and developing together. So that is one aspect. That is one situation. Another thing is there are times when using you is good. It's important because imagine I come up here and I just say, I did this, and to improve at speaking, these are the techniques that I used. instead of saying that you should try to do this, you can do this, you can learn in this way. Because when I use the words like you, us, we, it may sound like, oh, these are very simple words, but you look at speeches, listen to yourself, it is rare that we often use these words that are inclusive. Because it's fine, I understand we like talking about ourselves, but sometimes we've got to understand when we use these words of direct address frequently, the audience feels important. And that is often memorable, that is often liked. Another thing is give practical value in what you're trying to say. Again, I'm coming up here, I'm talking about public speaking. If I just continue giving like a lecture and just keep talking and talking, there's no value. But if I give you examples, if I'm trying to connect it to real life, or in the previous sessions, if I try to give you techniques and solutions to implement these learnings in real life, only then is it valuable. If it's not valuable, why are you listening to me? Why are you here? So that's the important thing, that make them feel important by giving practical value. And another thing is understand the problems or challenges that the audience faces. If I come, again, I'm going to keep using this example because it's very relatable to this situation. If I'm talking about public speaking in today's session, and if I say that I understand that you all may find it very difficult to speak in front of a crowd of 20,000, 30,000 people because not everyone is listening to you. If I position a problem like that, even though maybe none of you here have ever spoken in front of a crowd, sorry for that, even though none of you have spoken in front of a crowd of 20, 30,000 people, I'm just presenting it as if it's a challenge or a problem, but you will not relate. And hence, even if I give you a solution, you'll not be able to apply it because that is not a problem you face. It's better you start by identifying problems that your audience faces and give your solution, give your advice based on that, and then show your understanding. If they ask you a question, if you think that there is any part that is not understood well, tell them that you care. And that is in everyday conversation as well as if you speak in front of a large group of people. So that is to summarize that a speaker who makes the audience feel important, feel understood, that speaker will be memorable and will be remembered for a very long time because of the way that they make the audience feel. Now, this is very important, and let me just give a heads up. Yeah, Payal, I'll be ending very soon. I'm on the last slide. So, your ending matters a lot. I think I should have put a lot of more exclamation marks because it really, really does matter. Most of us, when we're talking to people or when we're presenting a session, we end very simply like, yeah, that's basically it. Thank you, everyone. Bye. We end in a very simple way, and I understand you've given all your value throughout the session. You do not want your ending to be very extravagant. I get it. But what I've researched and what I've found out is that whatever experiences we have in general, we judge it often based on one is the most memorable moment, and two is how the experience ended. So link it back to public speaking. What happens is whenever we present something, whether it's to some classmates, to some teachers, any situation, the other people, they remember how you ended your presentation and what was the best part of it. If your best part was, for example, if someone asked you a question and you answered it very well, that is remembered. And number two is how you ended it. Were you confident? Did you just walk off, run off stage? How did you conclude it? Because it's like a knit, it's a journey where you start the journey, you're speaking, and then you end. Try to tie it up. Try to make it like a full journey. Instead of you start your journey, you end it, and then you just like run away or get off stage or do something like that. Because if you just say something like, yeah, that's basically it, thank you everyone, bye, it's pretty boring. It's not going to be remembered. It's going to be forgotten in a snap. Instead of that, try to end your sessions, your presentations, whenever you speak to someone, try to end it with either a quote, any quote that you think relates to the session, or it could be a question. It could be something like, every time you think that you're not going to, you're not wanting to talk to a stranger, ask yourself this: will I regret it 10 minutes from now? So that was a question. I just thought of it on the spot. But the reason I shared it is because if you end with a question, it gives the audience something to remember, something to think about. And so, even when you're not on the stage, even when you've left the group conversation, they will still remember you because you made them think about something in particular. It could even be, it could be a takeaway, something very powerful. Yeah, it could be something that you think you've learned from and you'd like them to learn from as well. So that's why I'm going to again try to give you an example that relates to this session as well of a takeaway. Okay, you can end by using a takeaway, which could be something like your voice doesn't become powerful when everyone listens. It becomes powerful the moment you decide that your voice is worth using. That is a takeaway. I'm going to say it one more time. Your voice does not become powerful when everyone listens. It becomes powerful the moment you decide that your voice is worth using. So this was a takeaway. It's worked both sides. Yes, I meant it like actually for you to understand it. And two is it's an example of a good ending. It's a takeaway, something you remember, something that ties up the whole session of today. And it's not boring. It's not okay, that's it. Bye everyone. Thank you. It's not that. So remember that. And this takeaway basically means that you may be exceptionally talented. You have that potential. Your voice box is very creative and you can do a lot of things. But if you do not use your voice, if you do not approach people, initiate conversations, and all these different things that we've learned today in the topic of the psychology of influence, your voice is not powerful because you're not using it. Applies to anything, any skill. Take a sport. If you know how to play a sport, unless you step onto the court and play it, you do not seem like a talented person. You have to use the skill you have. And that summarizes the session of today. So let me quickly summarize and go through each slide before we end. So yes, we discussed the psychology of influence, basically saying that even though there are some speakers who may seem exceptionally talented because of certain behaviors, they may not be memorable as other speakers are. First thing we discussed was about first impressions, the importance of posture, smiling, pausing, eye contact, and body language. Because we have two different types of first impressions. It's not just our vocal, it is also our visual impression, which matters a lot more based on research as well. And if we keep that in mind, we will be able to control and influence audience to listen to us and to remember and understand what we're trying to say. Next, confidence is contagious. That means that if you look like you know what you're doing, if you look like you're sure about speaking on stage, the audience will feel relaxed, composed, and they will enjoy what you're talking about. People remember emotion more than information. Instead of just packing your speeches with a lot of data and scripting and statistics and facts, that's good, makes you more credible, yes. But instead of that, if you share something humorous, if you share a real life example, a story, and if you look passionate when you speak, people will remember that and they will enjoy your presentation. The curse of knowledge. Now, we often are very knowledgeable about topics that we talk about. So we end up using technical language, jargon, speaking too quickly, and not explaining what we want to say. Instead of that, very crucial thing is to get yourself to the level of the audience. Try to understand that they may be a beginner in whatever topic you're discussing and match whatever you're talking about, the way you speak it, to their level so that they can understand what you're trying to explain. People like speakers who make them feel important. That means that use direct address them, you, we, us, address the problems that they might face instead of talking about your own problems or discussing anything random, and show that you value them, show that they are heard, and show that you understand what they face. And finally, your ending matters. So the way I'm going to end this to again show you an inspiration for this exact slide. Whether you are in a classroom, an interview, a meeting, or on a stage, your voice, your body language can open doors, create opportunities, and even influence people in ways that you cannot predict before. So instead of waiting for confidence to just arrive before you start speaking, start speaking. Take that step, and you will realize that confidence will just follow. Confidence is not something that will just occur one day naturally. You've got to start, you've got to apply the techniques you learn, and confidence will follow. So thank you everyone for being part of this whole journey of the Nyaya Shiksha Trust. We've done a lot of public speaking sessions, me and a lot of other people that are uploaded on the YouTube. So do check it out, revisit them. And I really wish you all a very amazing journey in developing your public speaking skills. And I hope that the next time you have something, an idea, a story that is worth sharing, you choose to say it. Thank you, everyone. Let me stop sharing. Perfect. Yes, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, unmute, or type it in the chat. I'm happy to discuss. Okay, then I think that no one has any questions. So, Payal, you please feel free to end the meeting. Thank you so much.